Cinemajaw is brought to you by Cards Against Humanity. Guess what?
What, Matt?
They asked us not to read an ad.
Are you kidding me?
I'm serious.
That is so cool.
Dead serious.
Wow.
Enjoy the show. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location in Wrigleyville, Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Rye the Movie Guy. And sitting alongside us is our engineer and local filmmaker, Elias Rodriguez.
How's it going, Jawheads?
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, is it a dream that you are the Dark Knight?
That's my dream. Yeah.
We are ranking the best, in order, Christopher Nolan movies.
This is good. I like him. He's done a lot of varied work, you know, not particular to one specific genre. He's got a great voice in cinema, I would say.
He has. This is something that we tried to tackle with Pixar. I should say,
We did tackle.
Yes. And it's something that we wanted to look at when we are more or less completists on an artist. We can look at their body of work and have a good discussion and sort of rank the films. And it's fun to rank, see what everybody's favorite Christopher Nolan film is and why.
Yeah, and we didn't want to wait for his 10th film because why do that?
Yeah, right. I mean, we might be going eye for an eye on his 10th film.
We might indeed.
Besides that, Matt, we got a couple of great guests joining us. One live in studio.
Yes, Matthew Stromer makes his triumphant return to Cinemajaw. He is a visual artist, among many other hats that he wears. And he's got a new digital short coming out, which is part of a series. Very creative stuff. Can't wait to talk to Matt.
Yeah, he is a friend of the show. Always happy to have Matt Stromer on. And we also, the reason why we are recording here at Wrigleyville is through Ryan Ostrike.
From the Music Box.
Right. The Jawheads may remember. We've had Ryan on a couple of times, and one just recently, a couple of weeks ago, out promoting the 70mm Film Festival at the Music Box. He came through big time and let us have an interview right before Movie in the Park.
Yeah, and this is a special Movie in the Park. It is put on by the Music Box Theater at the new park at Wrigley Field, which is just adjacent in this little plaza. And they were showing a movie in the park, Rookie of the Year, and we're speaking to Thomas Ian Nicholas in a little while. So that's going to be a nice little treat.
Yes, it is. That is going to be in lieu of Cinema War. So it gives somebody, something to look forward to. Obviously,
because let's be honest, I would have won the Cinema War anyway. It's getting boring at this point.
Okay.
You know?
But he is Henry in Rookie of the Year. He is Star Rookie of the Year. He is Kevin in the American Pie movies.
Yes.
And all around great guy because we did interview him. So we can actually say that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Besides all of that, Matt, we have a whole lot more going on, don't we, Elias?
Oh, yes. We're going eye for an eye on Dunkirk.
And we have 3 reviews this week: War for the Planet of the Apes, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Wish Upon.
Wow. Yes. That is a lot.
That is a lot.
Plus, besides all that good stuff, Matt, as we mentioned, Dunkirk is coming out. It is based on an event in World War II. So I thought, why not Matt play Matt in World War II movie trivia?
Oh, okay. That sounds like fun. There's a lot of good World War II movies.
Yeah.
Tons.
Like I say, usually this is when we say Cinema War, but in lieu of that, we will play the Thomas Ian Nichols interview.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah. Before we bring Matt in, we do have some Cinemajaw happenings. Not only were we just at Wrigley Field, but as we promised the Jawheads, each month, a movie of the month pick. Mm-hmm. And with this, it's sort of like a club, a running club. We want to pick a movie that is accessible so that everybody can see it and talk about it online. That's the fun thing about it. Mm-hmm. And this time we have the chance to actually do a brand new release, a Netflix original that we were very pumped about, that I think the Jawheads would want to see, discuss, and hear discussed. Matt, what is our pick this month?
Okja. Young Mija has been caretaker and constant companion to Okja, a massive animal and an even bigger friend at her home in the mountains of South Korea. That changes when the Mirando Corporation takes Okja for themselves and transports her to New York, where an image-obsessed CEO has big plans for Mija's dearest friend. Mija sets out on a rescue mission. This film stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Tilda Swinton, Lily Collins, Stephen Yeun, and Paul Dano. It is directed by Bong Joon-ho, who also gave us Snowpiercer.
Yes, we loved Snowpiercer here on the show. So I'm really excited for Okja. I believe I'm saying it right. If you want to search it on Netflix, it's just OKJA, all one word.
Yeah, it looks like a very interesting and unusual movie, so I'm stoked.
We will be discussing that at the end of July. So watch it, Jawheads, and write us feedback@cinemajaw.com. Let us know what you thought about the film, your take, and we'll read it when we discuss the film.
Indeed.
Sound good?
Sounds good to me, Ryan.
All right, now we are on with the show here, Matt. Without further ado, as Matt mentioned, he is a visual artist. He is an improv artist. He has been on the show once before. Let's throw that in the jaw box right now, okay? Last time Matt Stromer was on here.
Oh, look it up.
Yes, without further ado, Matthew Stromer, welcome back to Cinemajaw.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So right away, I'm gonna hop right in. I'm a visual artist. Explain that. What is it that you do?
I love visuals, and I like to film and take photographs.
Okay, and you make art with that. You are being so
You know what it is? I get hung up on titles.
Yeah.
Like, I know you don't have to have a title, but I get hung up on it because people go, "Well, what exactly do you do?"
Well,
but if I say I'm a filmmaker, then I don't consider myself a filmmaker.
But you make films.
But they're not films.
True. I guess they're more like
Is it digital short?
A vignette?
No.
What would you call it? Vignette.
I don't know. You know what? It is visual art. I guess there's really no
I think
digital video essayist. I guess that even doesn't really describe what you do.
Yeah. Well, it all stems back to because I used to make short films with a VHS camcorder that I would take out from my school that had a TV station in high school, and I would make these tapes and I edit with 2 VCRs and I would tell people, yeah, I make short films, and this one guy's like, you're not making films. Film is film. You're making tapes.
Did you tell that guy where to stick it? I mean,
no. So maybe that's what it is. So yeah, every so often I'm like, what the hell do I call myself? So I've settled upon visual artist and improvisational actor. So you can't say you're an artist either, because my feeling about an artist is you have to earn being an artist. People have to refer to you as an artist. You can't call yourself an artist. If you make work that moves people and they say you're an artist, then you've earned it.
you're an artist. I'm a fan.
Oh,
I'm being
thanks,
honest.
man.
So
Well, there we go.
This is true. I'm actually a fan of Matt. We met.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm going to tell the backstory a little
Wow, I
bit.
didn't know that.
So we met when you did the stand-up contest that I was throwing at Shenanigans when I
Yes.
was still working for the bar.
Yes, that was a while ago.
We've become friends, fair to say.
Yeah.
And I've watched his videos, and you have this very unique, dark, comedic style. I mean, is that fair to say? Would you
Sure.
agree? Okay.
That's one area, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how did you develop that particular dark style? What is it about that attracts you?
Because I've always said I want to make stuff like David Lynch, but it be funny.
That is tough right there.
It is tough.
That's not to say David Lynch can't be funny, because he does have a certain humor in his films, but I also like to experiment with making things that aren't necessarily funny on the written page, and you don't know why you're laughing at it or know why you're intrigued by it, but for some reason it draws you in or you're interested.
Sure.
And there's almost like a horror element to some of the
But
stuff.
it's very nonsensical. Like I work in that field, like nonsensical, absurd, random kind of area.
Liquid Television was a show back in the 90s. Do you recall this?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
If Jawheads listening are familiar with that show, I think your work would have fit in perfectly on Liquid Television.
Or a segment on Space Ghost. I always wanted to be on that show.
There you go.
But also is some of the music that you do, and this is where the improv comes in. You did a series of, I believe, I don't know the exact title, something along Singing with My iPod, Karaoke with My iPod. What is it called?
Oh, the lip syncing with the iPads?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is something where it's sort of like it's off the cuff. You don't know exactly what's coming, and basically the video, it's tough to describe. I've seen the best one that I saw was Elias and you guys collaborated with this whole idea of you lip singing with songs.
Yes. Which stem from the stand up where I met Matt.
And that's where that all came from.
Right.
So it's just an evolution of the art.
It was a perfect idea from Elias to do that because I do a medley of songs and I lip sync a medley, and Elias was getting some film equipment. He wanted to test it out and do that in one take.
Yeah, I'll add to that that Matt K said, I was a fan of you, Matthew, and just seeing you do that on stage a bunch of times, I was like, oh yeah, why doesn't somebody, let's see that,
Let's capture it.
exactly.
Yeah, but you know what? That same guy that told me that I didn't make film, I made tapes, he also told me when he saw my stand-up, he's like, you know what you're doing? I've seen drag queens do and better.
Wow, who is this guy? I really want to kick him.
Jeez.
What a jerk.
Well, I know
it's
one
Matt's
thing.
brother.
Yeah.
That guy is not on Cinemajaw.
Wait, is this so your style that we were discussing here? So, I mean, there's an anger there, right? But I wanted to ask you, what about the work of other filmmakers pisses you off the most?
Probably too much exposition. I hate that.
Really?
Yeah.
You just want to get right into it?
Yeah. Well, I'm very I analyze how they assemble. Like, I don't mind exposition. You absolutely need it sometimes, but how it's constructed.
Worked in.
How believable does it sound?
Yeah.
Is the actor reading it right? You know, you always hear this argument like, it's not the words, it's the actor. Trust the words. But sometimes it's the words.
Yeah, that's true, man. That is very true. So you've got some new stuff that's about to drop, right?
I do, yeah. Normally I make self-contained digital shorts, their own little mini universes, so I don't have like an ongoing thing. But 2 years ago I started this. It started out as just another digital short, and then it became a series that I continued for about a year and a half called Non-Focus, and I haven't made a new one in a year. So the last couple of weeks I've been finishing up on not one episode but 2 new episodes,
and they are dropping.
and they're connected. There are 2 episodes, but they're
a part 1 and a part 2.
Exactly, yes. And I'm going to drop them both at the same day.
And again, for the listeners, if you're trying to get an idea of this, if you think, and tell me if this is unfair, Matt, if you think of liquid television, it's almost like a talk show, right? But with different segments thrown throughout.
Yeah.
And the host of this talk show, forgive me, I forget the character's name off the cuff.
Timothy Stone.
Timothy Stone is pretty much insane. He talks to, I mean, this is, again, my interpretation.
Yeah.
He talks to Fisher-Price toys.
Fisher-Price, Playmobil, Lego.
Yeah.
Any kind of toy that sparks an idea. And this comes from, and I should also mention, this show is not just my show. It has become a collaboration with my 12-year-old son. It's our imaginations combined. It's my love of messing around with visuals and effects and filters and, you know, abstract kind of stuff, and my horror and comedy and weirdness, and then my son's 12-year-old imagination and what he perceives. And he gets final cut usually. Like, I'll show him the episode when it's done. But his toys that I play with in the host segments, those are his toys.
These are vintage.
And we come up with
Fisher-Price.
ideas. I mean, the thing about Not in Focus is we never run out of ideas, because it really is an improv show. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the segments that's going to be in one of these new episodes is called The Hall of Leftover Presidents. And it's basically about a museum had a fire, and 75% of the presidents were destroyed, but only 8 remained. So now it's these 8 presidents talking to each other when the museum closes about being the last 8 presidents after a fire destroyed all their friends. And the idea for this came up. My son and I were in a thrift store, and we're looking through the toys like we always do. And I found this bag, and it was 8 Pez dispensers with presidents on them. And
those are probably worth. I mean, the toys in this series, you have vintage, like 60s Fisher-Price toys.
Yeah.
These are collector's items.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting them to better use than a collector would.
Well, I mean, they're my son's toys. He plays with them. He likes vintage toys. He prefers vintage toys than what he calls the toys that are in the aisles that he avoids at Target and the toy stores, with the cheap toys that just break, and
good for him.
They're all licensed.
It sounds like he gets that from his dad, though.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. Oh yeah, I guess I did scold him once for playing with a non-Kenner Star Wars figure, because everything after Kenner sucked. But anyway, my point being about finding those Pez dispensers is that idea germinated right there. Like, you know, I said to my son, we could make this into a sketch. I'm instantly seeing like these 8 Pez dispensers, and they're the busts in a museum, and
he just goes with the flow. Does he?
Yeah, and he makes suggestions for like fonts. He'll like use that font, or and then he goes and plays video games for like 20 minutes, then comes back and sees what I'm doing. He's like, change that, edit that. It's cool. I mean, and the reason why I haven't made an episode in a year is because he's suffering from chronic OCD, which is hell in our house right now.
Yeah.
It has been for a while. And I make this show in my house, in my dining room, as a matter of fact. And I haven't been able to make one, nor have I had the desire to make one. And it's been a year, and one day, a couple months ago, he said to me, "Are you ever going to do Not in Focus again?" And that instantly made me go, okay, let's do that, because if he's asking, that's a positive thing, and he wants to do that. I see him suffering with his OCD, and now he's saying, "When are you going to do Not in Focus?" So
here we are.
We cobbled together a storyline and put stuff together, and
But I was going to ask, when you're talking to your son and you have these moments just like that, which was a nice intimate moment to share. This idea that you can almost get an idea from it. How that must happen all the time, being a creative person like yourself, looking for that sort of spark, that next, like, oh, that's hilarious, we can run with that.
Yeah.
Do you carry a pen and paper, or what do you do?
I use the notes app on my phone.
Yeah.
And then just whenever a sentence, something I see, I just jot it down. And I have no idea what's going to become of that. Sometimes I do. Most of the time I don't. And then a couple months later, when I'm going through trying to assemble something, I'll suddenly get a flashback and then I'll expand on it, and it's weird. It just comes to you. But I mean, like I said, with Not in Focus, the way that show is, and I never have a hard time finding an idea.
It's totally random.
Especially
stuff.
if I go to a thrift store.
Yeah. When are these 2 new episodes dropping?
I think they're dropping the day your podcast drops.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, they are live.
Nice. And the best place for the Jawheads to go watch these?
You can go to YouTube. Just type in Matthew Stromer, and there's my channel there.
1M, we should mention.
1M, 2 T's, Stromer.
And we'll link to it in the show notes as well.
And then, or you can just go to my website, and it'll be right on the main page, and that's Hip. I picked the worst website name.
Hip Battersea?
Because every time I try to, what's your website? It's hipbattersea.com. What? Hip Battersea. HIPBATTERSEA.com. And then by the time I even get to .com, they've lost interest. No. They just end up going to YouTube and typing in my name in the search field.
Matthew
Yeah,
Stromer.
that works
But
as well.
I have my website all nicely laid out, and it's very minimal. There's no words. It's just pictures and links, and it takes you everywhere. Because I got Vimeo and Instagram and all that.
I was
crap.
going to say,
I recommend it.
On the Instagram, too, I do follow you, and you take wonderful,
Thank you.
pictures. So is photography obviously another hobby of yours?
I've been taking pictures since I was like 5 years old when I got my first camera.
5, wow.
Yeah. And
Did that one guy say that you're not really taking pictures?
Right?
but everyone's loving me now because
He's just there all the time.
when MySpace and Facebook started popping up really big.
You're not really having sex. We like to end all of our guest interviews with some silly cinema cues. Get to know the guest through the eye of the lens. Elias, you got something for Matt?
Yes, I do. Matthew, Rye pointed out that you did this iPad lip sync, which is amazing. We collaborated on a lip sync short film. If you could go back and be the star of a musical, lip syncing the entire thing, which musical would you do?
That's a good one.
Like a Broadway musical?
No, like a TV or like a movie musical.
I would say Cannibal the Musical.
Wow, that is Trace Stone and Matt Parker, right? Yeah.
I love that movie.
Early work.
I've never seen it.
They were working for Troma, which Rye the movie guy doesn't know anything about Troma.
I've had trauma in my life.
No, this is
Troma.
the studio. Lloyd Kaufman. They gave us the Toxic Avenger, and see, you wouldn't enjoy any of this stuff.
It sounds like it would give me trauma.
This should be the next Cinemajaw movie of the month club.
No, Elias, don't get him thinking. Was that everything you had, Elias?
That was it?
All right. Boy, oh boy. Good stuff.
Great answer.
Yeah. Now, for the Jawheads listening to this that want to follow you online, where would you like to guide the Jawheads to find out more on Matthew Stromer?
I would say hipbattersea.com. Let me spell it. HIPBATTERSEA.com.
Do it, Jawheads.
Or the YouTube channel.
Or YouTube.
Secondary.
Matthew Stromer, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, if you're a fan at all of photographs, interesting photographs, follow his Instagram. Also, are you just Matthew Stromer there? Because I know I follow you, but it's just Matthew Stromer on Instagram.
Yeah.
Interesting shots.
I agree.
So Matt is sitting in on this entire jaw. He is a Christopher Nolan completist as well. You've seen all 9 of his films. I have seen all 9 of his films. Matt, you are missing one.
Just
I
one.
believe.
Following.
Yes.
The following?
Following. Just following.
Yes. I'm missing following.
Nice. All right. That's good. So
You got something against black and white movies?
No, not at all. And I'm a fan of, actually, I like black and white movies, which we'll get into in this conversation for sure. Just I haven't got around to it. And I know it's on Netflix. I have no excuse. I got to do it. And
Absolutely.
I will. I can't wait to hear you guys tell me about it.
all right. It brings us to Eye for an Eye, Elias.
Eye for an eye, interested or ignore. Eye for an eye, Dunkirk. Allied soldiers from Belgium, Britain, Canada, and France were surrounded by the German army and evacuated during a fierce battle in World War II. The film stars Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, and Kenneth Branagh. It is written and directed by Christopher Nolan. We throw it over to Ryan.
This was my most anticipated film of the summer season, so there's no doubt I'm interested in it. As we get into Christopher Nolan, I think I've said this before, for me, he's probably the director I get most excited about. It'd be tough if we had to argue right now, working directors, if I had a ranked top 5, he would be on that list. Is he number 1 for sure? Maybe not. But it's a little bit different when you get super excited about a director.
Sure.
He's an event film director for me. So as soon as Christopher Nolan has a new movie coming out, I'm going to see it. Dunkirk, I'm interested. Matt K?
Like you, Ryan, I find Christopher Nolan's work to be sublime. I like everything he's done with no exceptions. And I'm not a big war movie buff. I like a good war movie, but not terribly excited about the genre. But if his name is on it, I'm interested.
Matthew Stromer?
Definitely interested. What was that?
Care to elaborate?
What was that sound? Yeah. I'm very excited, especially since the whole film is shot on IMAX.
That is something to
And
note also, yeah.
There's supposed to be barely any dialogue in the movie, too.
Cool.
Elias?
Unanimous here, interested. And we have to give a shout out to Ryan Ostrike of the Music Box, who is screening Dunkirk in 70 millimeter. And he hooked us up with the interview with Thomas Ian Nichols.
Yeah. In fact, we were saying our buys and thank yous. He was like, I hope to see you at the Music Box for Dunkirk. I'm like, oh, yeah, Ryan, I'm there. Don't worry. So,
Yeah, well, let's plug it. Do you know when it's dropping?
I mean, obviously, this one comes out the 21st. Right when
perfect.
Dunkirk opens, it's at the Music Box. So
Beautiful place to see the film in 70 millimeter.
4 interesteds for Dunkirk. No surprise, as we mentioned, it's Christopher Nolan, and we're doing a whole show dedicated to him here. So looking forward to this one for sure.
Me too. Let's get in.
Yeah. Speaking of new movies, Matt, I have said this to you many of times while we've been recording this show.
You're a jerk?
No,
Oh, well, you've said that too.
I have. But I've also said,
Ass bag?
no, I've said that as well. But I have also said, take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape. In 2011, a new Planet of the Apes series was started with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. There was reason to be concerned, but moviegoers were rewarded with some truly great films. War for the Planet of the Apes marks the end of Caesar's trilogy. This time around, I was beating my chest in excitement.
Years from now, your children will ask you, what did you do in the greatest war? And you can tell them, I fought to protect this world. We created them. But now, we will bring an end to their kind.
When we met Caesar back in 2011, he was a cute chimp that loved to swing around James Franco's house. In War of the Planet of the Apes, Caesar has grown old, is wiser, and has a family. His family plays a key element in the plot in this third film. We open with Caesar and his apes at war against the humans. Now, Caesar would like nothing more than to stop the fight and let both species live in peace. However, human soldiers, led by a madman of a colonel, played by Woody Harrelson, feel threatened by the apes and want to make them extinct. Early on, Harrelson's character goes to kill Caesar, only to end up killing his wife and young son. From this point, and this is early on, Matt, so from this point on, Caesar, along with a couple of apes, set out for revenge on the colonel. The feel of the sci-fi film then begins to feel like an old Western. Apes on horseback traveling through the snow to find and kill a man responsible for murdering some of their own. When they do find the colonel at a secret base, the news is not good. The colonel has captured the apes and forcing them to work. It's here, Matt, where the film tackles many social issues we as a society are facing today. You have the apes building a wall to keep the infected humans out of the base, where the last remaining quote-unquote clean humans cling on to the power leading by fear. Can the apes escape? Can Caesar finish his mission? I applaud director Matt Reeves for taking such a bold chance on a summer blockbuster. This film is not all political. It also pays homage to a couple of classic films, one being Apocalypse Now and the other being The Great Escape. Couple all this in with some beautiful cinematography, an amazing score, a hilarious performance by Steve Zahn, and motion capture effects that are quite simply the best Hollywood has ever done, and you have a must-see summer flick. This one also gives us a very satisfying ending. I sure do hope that we can lock this one in as the last of the series, because as it stands now, Matt, this is one of the best trilogies in modern times. I loved it.
What's with you in these ape movies, dude?
I'm stunned. I really, in the original films, I always have been a huge fan of the original 68 Charlton Heston classic.
I guess they're fun, but they're kind of corny.
Right. But that particular one I loved. And then I liked Beneath the Planet of the Apes to a degree. I know a lot of them, but I never was like, wow, Mr. Planet of the Apes guy. I really, when I thought this movie came out, I thought, the heck, they're ruining the whole idea of how the apes got the intelligence. I don't want to know, you know? And that actually turns out to be the best thing about this whole arc of the Planet of the Apes. It's so interesting to know where these apes started from and the experiments that were done on them and then where it led to. And great sci-fi, if it is back all the way at the 68 original, we're making great social commentary. They're looking and sort of reflecting the times that they were in, and Planet of the Apes speaks volumes for the times back then, the Vietnam War and such. And then you flash forward to here, and again, yes, they take some liberties here, but the political issues that they're tackling and sort of raising a bar. I can see a lot of people across the country being turned off at the middle point of this movie when it really makes its sort of
statement
message. Yeah. But I
who'd have thunk?
I appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
What about that Mark Wahlberg one, the Tim Burton?
yeah, let's just forget that one even was made. That was a travesty. I hated that film.
Were they going to make more? Had that been successful?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe Tim Burton had the keys to the franchise if that was going to be successful. And that was probably, if we were going to do our ranking of our Tim Burton films, that's got to be just about, if not his worst film of all time. Yeah. And that was a dud. But these, and there's been multiple directors. Actually, throw that in the jaw box. I believe Matt Reeves did too. I don't know who did the first one of these new ape trilogies, but the effects here, Andy Serkis as Caesar, incredible. I mean, just literally incredible. I mean, the motion capture technology has gotten so better just between the time of these three films.
Gets better and better.
It does. I mean, the first time I remember being amazed, like, wow, man, they're really doing good. Now it's to the point you can't even tell. Yeah, you can't tell that these are even effects anymore. It's like you're watching a talking ape with a shotgun. You wouldn't even think twice about it.
That sounds all pretty amazing, Rye. Do you have a favorite scene specifically?
Favorite scene, I mentioned Steve Zahn is in this film. He plays a character called Bad Ape. So he is also motion captured here. And he is the humor of the movie. And to the point of, like, you remember when that first time we saw Gollum on the screen and we were attracted to Gollum? Sure. And we were like, wow, I can't believe this is really on screen in front of us. To that same degree, just a level up with the motion capture. And my favorite being, there is a moment where he takes Caesar and his apes into the house that he is sort of living in. And they, at that point, have a young girl with them who is a mute, who, if you remember
A human child
that they have along with them. If you remember the Charlton Heston one, which takes place in, she is a grown woman who is a mute.
Awesome.
So it all is starting to come together.
So cool.
And in this scene, Steve Zahn is like telling the kid not to touch things. And it is hilarious seeing an ape tell a human, oh, don't touch that. You know, he plays it perfectly. And he's going back and forth trying to, articulate where he came from, which was a zoo. He was captured, and this is how this happened. And they're starting to learn that all these other apes are having the ability to talk. It's awesome.
Wow. That's really cool.
It's great.
Steve Zahn can carry a movie sometimes.
He can.
Yep.
Do you have any scenes that you had trouble with?
I did mention that they pay homage to some classic films. Another one of them being Glory. And probably the one homage that I didn't like is there is a whipping scene where they whip Caesar very much, almost shot for shot, where they whip Denzel Washington in Glory. Little too much for me. That didn't work for me. I thought, a little too close to it, and it didn't hit its mark the way, say, The Great Escape did.
Sure.
Or, other things. So
You said it was like a Western, so any movie influences?
Well, I actually just wrote down a great Clint Eastwood Western, say it was like The Outlaw Josie Wales, has that feel.
Yeah.
Or again, all the ones that I mentioned, Apocalypse Now, The Great Escape in when the apes are trying to get out of the prison is glaring, but it's supposed to be. But it's awesome.
What did you learn from the movie?
What I learned here, Elias, is they are very close. We are very close to getting an Oscar nomination from a motion capture performance. It may happen with Andy. I wouldn't be
As
shocked.
the best actor.
If
I
it's
would
going to
say-
be anything,
Wow.
it's going to be him.
I would say he actually has an outside chance to be best actor
Wow.
nominated for this performance, and he plays an ape on screen, but it's that good of a performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about your movie poster quote?
I go with this, and Matt's been giving me a ribbing on my movie poster quotes all the time now. I go with
I do?
this is no monkey business. War for the Planet of the Apes is a must see.
Matt's had some good quotes, so that's why he's
It's okay, Ryan.
All right, thank you.
Judgmental.
Keep working on it.
Hey,
It's
I'm
all
giving this one 3.5 out of 4 Jaws. I really loved it. The only slight complaint keeping it from 4 Jaws, it's got a runtime, I want to say, of 2 hours and 20 minutes. And there's a middle chunk, I think, there they could have slimmed down about 15, 20 minutes. Definitely in the middle feels a little long because it's a little bit slower for a summer blockbuster. So if you think it's going to be action-packed the whole time, plays out a little bit more like a slower Western with some messages in there. So be ready.
Have there been any other reboots that made it to trilogy that was this good? I'm trying to think of that.
Good question.
It sounds like it was a great accomplishment.
It was.
All these 3
It
films.
really was. Yeah. You guys haven't seen any of these.
No.
I saw the
Anybody?
first one. I really
Yeah.
liked it.
They're awesome. So definitely Jawheads. Check them out. War for the Planet of the Apes is playing everywhere. So do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm going to catch up with these.
We also saw a couple other films, Matt.
Yeah, right. We did. We went and saw the new horror film, Wish Upon. To call the new teen thriller Wish Upon a horror film is generous. It's about as scary as the first Scream movie and close to it in spirit. It's also similar to that in the fact that it's pretty good and likely to spawn a whole new franchise.
I can wish for anything. Money,
Get in. What is happening right now?
love. Did that just happen?
There have been others who've had the box. They and everyone they loved all died. When the music ends, the blood price is paid. It's a demon.
What does it want?
Your soul.
Jonathan Shannon, played by Ryan Felipe, gives his 17-year-old daughter Claire, played here by Joey King, an old music box that promises to grant its owner 7 wishes. Skeptical at first, Claire becomes seduced by its dark powers when her life starts to radically improve with each wish. Everything seems perfect until she realizes that every wish she makes causes the people who are closest to her, and animals, to die in violent and elaborate ways. Here we have a rather safe payday of a teenage horror movie. Light on the gore, light on the scares, light on the acting, but it moves right along well enough. Joey King is making a name for herself as a bit of a scream queen, and this performance is good enough to make me look forward to the upcoming Slender Man film next year. The best part about this movie Slender Man, dude. The best part about this movie and what lifts it just above mediocrity is its familiarity with and the subversion of the Scream genre. It knows it's a silly horror film, and it delivers as promised. The proof of this is a rather out-of-place Jerry O'Connell cameo that had people at my screening laughing out loud. I think this is tongue-in-cheek, and I like that. The real fun of this film is that the audience is in on the gimmick way before the characters catch on, leading us to some screaming at the screen moments that were tasty. My main gripe is that there's not enough risk taken. It could use a dose of dread. Director John R. Leonetti gave us Insidious and The Conjuring, but this time he seems to pull some punches and make Wish Upon a little more family-friendly, I guess. That said, I must confess, the ending is quite satisfying. This is one punch the film does not pull. It lands with a thwack and is probably its saving grace. It's fair to compare this movie to Hellraiser, in that a little evil box is the MacGuffin, and fair to compare it to Final Destination in that there's no killer per se. Death itself is coming for the victims of the music box, but both aforementioned are superior to this entry. Overall, I do recommend seeing this summer thriller, mainly because it will get you thinking about Halloween early. Sequels are sure to follow.
Yeah, you nailed something there, and I think it is the fact. I think the whole film works on this idea that we, the audience, know the gimmick before the characters on screen.
Yeah.
We get that it's tongue in cheek in the sense that oh God, this is just going to be ridiculous. And we're starting to laugh and cheer along. I mean, when you're doing a horror film that tries to be funny, scary, corny in a way, and it almost goes for corny, and then tries to give you a tense scene, that could be tough to pull off. But I do have to give it to the filmmakers. They got that. I don't think this film was geared towards me. This isn't something I would
very millennial.
Wouldn't go and seek out in any way. But boy, if you got somebody in their early teens, mid-teens, they'd probably love this movie, right?
Right. You know what this is? This is a perfect date movie. It's not so scary that it's going to ruin your evening, and be so disturbing that you walk out of the theater and you're just like, whoa, you're thinking about it. It was a fun little
I called it a glorified B movie. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think so.
That sounds fun. Matt K, how about our favorite scene?
Favorite scene, there is a very tense hair in the drain moment, which there's clips of online. I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but I will leave it right there.
Yeah, he's not giving it enough, because that's my favorite scene as well. It's a garbage disposal. Saying drain doesn't give the...
Well, I was trying to be ambiguous.
Who cares about a drain? No, but I wanted to talk about this because I realized watching this, and I've seen a couple of scenes with good garbage disposal scenes, I have somewhat of a phobia of garbage disposals, right?
Interesting.
And so about roughly a year ago, I was cleaning my house and I dropped something in my garbage disposal that I wanted to get. And so I put a glove on, and I swear to God, I was by myself. I had sweat coming down my head. I was like, this is terrifying because I've seen this in movies so many times, and I'm a smart guy. I'm not going to lean over and hit the switch on the garbage disposal.
Well, they never actually put the switch where your hips would hit.
I know, but I mean, I cleared my entire countertop off. Nothing could be near the switch. I went in, and even then, I mean, I was so nervous trying to get, I even forget what it is now because the fear scared it out of me.
It's like you have this fear that as soon as you put your hand in there, someone's going to run out from another room and just turn it on.
Which is more scary than the actual thing.
Yeah. So garbage disposal scene, it's perfect. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, it was a very good one.
Any scenes you guys had trouble with?
It's hard to pin one down. This movie is so not bad that is almost annoying. It's just everything is just above mediocrity. But I would say there's this dad scene where she, and I don't want to spoil the exact wish, but she wishes something would change about her father. And the subsequent scene I felt was where they lost me cornball wise.
Yeah, this is Ryan Felipe, whatever his last name is.
You said it right the first time.
Yeah, and he is this is the problem I had with the film. Why would they? He's a hoarder in the movie, and he goes picking through garbage. All right, you already have this really handsome dude. It just doesn't work. They have Ryan Felipe in these like gloves going through dumpster. He's basically dumpster diving in the movie.
I thought it worked.
And the scene in particular that's the worst is he goes in a dumpster in front of her high school with all of her friends there. Very poor writing. I mean, just roll your eyes. That part was stupid.
Why? Because of the casting?
Yeah, it just doesn't work. He's not going to be a dumpster diver.
Why not?
You've never seen a
He's
handsome...
made love to Reese
There's
Witherspoon.
one sitting right here at this table, guys. Let me just tell you.
You pointed at me, listeners. Okay. So, Matt K, you're a fan of B movies. Did you see any movie influences specifically?
Well, I mentioned a couple. So, Hellraiser, Final Destination, and Scream. So they're all in my review.
Yeah, pretty much same with me. I had Final Destination. I think is the closest this is to. With these deaths that these characters are facing are on the ridiculous side, and they're supposed to be. So all of a sudden, somebody's got a chainsaw while they're cutting a tree down, and everybody already starts to laugh as soon as they cut into that scene. You're already like, oh god, here we go.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I have a fear akin to your garbage disposal one that actually was a scene in the Final Destination movie where the guy's trimming his nose hairs. And he's got the scissors up to his nose.
Oh,
no.
Because when I do that, I have this big fear that there's going to be a car is going to suddenly make an explosion outside. There's going to be some sound that's going to make me jump, and then those scissors are going to go right up my brain.
Wow.
But you got to get the nose hairs,
Yeah.
Wow, got to get you a nose hair trimmer for Christmas.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Sorry for the segue.
All right, fellas, movie poster quotes. Again, Matt does really well with these. So
do I? Now the pressure's on.
It is.
My movie poster quote for Wish Upon is, "You ain't never had a friend like me."
It's terrible. I've seen the movie.
Come on.
It's terrible.
It's not that bad.
Mine
it's a genie. It's a box. You would make wishes.
Mine is, your wish comes with a price.
Yeah, see, that's right on the nose, though. Yeah. All right.
So is this movie.
We got to work on this.
Yeah.
We got to work on this.
That's the fun part. Let's assign some grades here.
I'm giving this 2.5 out of 4.
All right, that makes sense because I didn't like it probably as much as you did. 2 Jaws for me. I thought actually it's funny. We went to the same screen, but we didn't sit next to each other. But we were, a little ways apart.
We're on the same row.
Just broke down that way. By the time we got there, we had people in between us. But I thought we were walking out of the theater, and I saw Matt then, and you summed it up right then. You're like, you know what? That didn't suck.
Yeah.
I think that sums up this movie. It's like, all right, it was fun. Whatever.
Yeah, didn't suck.
I wouldn't go out of my way, but it was fun. One other new movie. We're a little late on this one, but we have to call some attention to it, Matt, because you have a son named Parker, I guess.
Yeah. Did you write a review? Because you can read yours. I was gonna bully my way in here.
I didn't really. I'll just say everything that I hated about Spider-Man.
You son of a bitch. Maybe I should read
Here's
mine.
what I got. No. Did you do at least your 5 questions?
Yes.
Okay. Here's what I got. This is the 4th best Spider-Man there has been.
You're so wrong.
I hated. Here's the thing. Some of the things I hated. And here's one of the key points that
Why don't you talk about the things you like?
that I really disliked was Spider-Man is a suit in this movie that Tony Stark. Do you know who Tony Stark is? He's
course I
Iron
do.
Man. Okay, I'm not big on the Marvel movies, so I get confused with these names sometimes. But Tony Stark, who is Iron Man, made a suit for Spider-Man, which basically, for all intensive purposes, mimics the Iron Man suit in the sense of there's a robot in there and you can hear anything you want. Whenever the writers need to get critical information, the suit gets it somehow. Just absolutely weak writing. Another thing that I didn't like here, Matt, was here was a particular scene, was the kill shot. The suit is asking Spider-Man, would you like a kill shot? They use this not once but 2 times as a joke.
Instant kill, right?
Instant kill. And the audience laughs both times. Then when he's fighting the Birdman, who's Michael Keaton, and he's right in front of him with the webs, no ask of a question. Could have ended the movie right then. It's so dumb. I hate.
He tells the suit, "Stop asking me that."
It's so dumb. You get where I'm going. I didn't like it at all.
Wait, Michael Keaton plays the Birdman?
Yes, more or less. Or what's his name in this movie?
He did play Birdman.
That's what I'm saying. That's weird.
It's Vulture.
Oh,
Wow.
Vulture. Well,
But
whatever.
you know what's cool is they never referred to him as Vulture until I don't want to spoil anything, but it's not like I'm the Vulture.
Right. I mean, they didn't say anybody's real name too much there.
Except we do get Shocker. Is like, gives the Shocker weapon and says, "Here, now you're Shocker."
But in a nutshell, this is just another Spider-Man. It wasn't another
It's not
rehash.
that Shocker, Elias.
It wasn't a rehash of an origin story, so I did appreciate that. Sort of picks up after the events of Captain America: Civil War, but again, it's really heavy on the quote-unquote Marvel Avengers humor. So there's a lot of like one-liners, jokes about how he stole the Captain America shield, and I mean, if you like all that stuff and you're 7, 8 years old, you're going to eat it up. But I don't like the Avengers all that much, so all that humor is like, enough already. And then the plot is nothing great. Like I said, this is about the 4th best Spider-Man. Matt?
It's because it didn't have any apes in it.
Yeah, that must be it. I'm not going to read my entire review, all right? Because I said I wouldn't bully my way in, but I will read you one short paragraph of it. The latest... Come on.
All right.
The latest big screen reboot of Spider-Man is called Homecoming, and while ostensibly it is about the dance in the high school tradition, is what it's truly about is the character coming back to the house that Stan built, the house of ideas, back to his home at Marvel.
Who cares?
After a string of subpar movies, I'm happy to tell you that Spider-Man is back to his New York punk rock street level roots.
That's what you said when Andrew Garfield. I remember. We could almost play the tape. You
just
were so
copied and pasted
excited. You were
Hey,
so
the first-
excited that he
the
was
first
on a
Amazing
skateboard.
Spider-Man movie
I
was
remember,
good.
Oh, he's finally a punk again. This is how he's supposed to be. This is my Spider-Man, you were saying.
Yeah, he was. The first Amazing Spider-Man was good.
Better than this.
People poop on it. I liked Andrew Garfield. The second one sucked so bad it ruined the taste in your mouth for the first one.
Would you say, put it on the spot, Homecoming better than the first Amazing Spider-Man?
absolutely.
Oh, bull. You loved the first
I
Amazing
did.
Spider-Man.
I love Spider-Man.
You didn't like the second Spider-Man with Dr. Octopus?
That is the best one.
That's
Okay.
the best.
Yeah,
In
absolutely.
fact, we threw a poll question out to the Jawheads on Twitter that we will read when Elias comes out of the Jaw box.
Yeah, and let's be honest. This is your opinion is not the popular one. Most people have been enjoying this film.
I'm not most people.
Well, that's clear.
I think it's too many Spider-Mans for me.
All right. So Rye had trouble with it. Matt, did you have any trouble with the scene specifically?
Yes, there was one moment where Spider-Man uses this suit from Stark to deploy wings, the spider gliders, which has always been a part of the Spider-Man thing. But he glides to the Staten Island ferry, and it just looked a little fake to me. It was
A little.
That's what you picked out of this? The ferry scene is a key moment. This is a big action sequence. I think you've seen it in the trailer. Most people now have seen the movie. So the ferry gets split in half. There's multiple things wrong with the scene. But number one, as I mentioned, he could have killed the Birdman right then with the instant kill. Then
He doesn't kill people, dude. He's Spider-Man.
Okay, then what happens is this ferry, if I can just describe this, gets cut in half.
It's in the trailer.
And water flows into the entire ferry. There is no way to save this thing. Somehow Tony Stark shows up, puts it back together, glues the bottom of it. There's no water in the ferry anymore. And then goes on to tell him that he's been watching him the whole time, and that's why the FBI is there. But, Tony didn't tell Spider-Man that. Why?
Because that's the whole thing. That's the point of the movie, is their relationship and the trust that adults don't have in kids. He didn't listen to Peter. And so, just like any teenage experience, that's the whole experience of being a teenager. Don't you realize that that's what the movie is about?
No, it's not about that.
You have become such an adult that you've forgotten what it is to be a kid.
No, he's given him the Spider-Man suit. He clearly trusts him to some degree.
To some degree, but it's full of trackers and recorders and this and that. Just like the phones we give our children
if he's going to
now.
go out of his way, and this is not like, it's just some test. We're talking about the Birdman trying to kill...
Can we not call him the
No,
Birdman?
I'm calling him the Birdman. We're talking about the Birdman trying to kill the Spider-Man.
And can we talk about this villain? He's the best Marvel Universe villain to date.
We'll get to our favorite scenes.
All right.
Wait, we got the Birdman trying to kill the Spider-Man.
Okay.
Hundreds, maybe thousands of people's lives at stake with this ferry. The ferry cut in half. Somehow it's ridiculous. He puts the ferry back together, and then he's going to say like, "Oh well, yeah, I knew you may be in danger. That's why I had the FBI there." Like, all right, enough of the stupid tests. That was a bit so far fetched. If you were going to put all those people's lives in danger, Iron Man's an idiot.
Well, Iron Man is very. He's got a lot of hubris.
I didn't like that scene at all, and then it lost me from there.
Yeah.
Woof.
I thought it was just fine.
All right, let's go back to positives. Matt, was there any favorite scenes?
Yes.
Obviously, you had some.
Pretty much the entire movie. There's. I really liked. I want to just mention that there's a tag at the end of the movie in the Marvel movie tradition that is probably the best after credit scene they have ever done. Period, bar none. But my favorite scene.
I don't even stay for those anymore.
You really missed a good one. My favorite scene was when the character of Spider-Man gets a lot of rubble dropped on him by the villain, and he's pinned, he's trapped, and I was actually, it was almost like a horror movie moment where he's screaming for help, and I was freaking terrified. I don't know, maybe that's one of my weird fears, like the nose hair clippers, and what was yours again?
The garbage disposal.
Yeah, that's mine. Okay, being pinned under rubble, but Spider-Man, he like calls upon the strength within himself, and it was like a let's root for this guy kind of moment, and it was good. It was good. Nice. And that's a classic Spider-Man thing too.
That's awesome. Any redeeming qualities, Rye? Favorite scene?
Well, my favorite scene. Spider-Man gets caught by his fat friend, and the fat friend is the humor here, right? So that particular scene when he crawls in, but again, very unrealistic. This is Spider-Man, right? This guy crawls around, spies on everybody, crawls into his bedroom, takes off his mask, and then is caught by his best friend. All right, this is getting pretty stupid here. He could go against the greatest villains of all, but some guy that brought over a Death Star is sitting on his own bed, and he gets caught by him.
He's 15.
To quote Matt, like, Rye, do you have fun anymore?
Not anymore.
Like,
I realize
honestly,
that. Not with these movies. It's enough of the silliness.
How's
guys.
the music in it?
Awesome.
Spider-Man.
It's okay.
We get some New York punk rock and some really cool stuff, man.
Is there like a top 40 like band singer that has the main song to the film?
I would say the Ramones. Blitzkrieg Bop plays 3 times.
Okay, well that's already better than Nickelback from the first Amazing Spider-Man.
Okay, movie influences.
All the Spider-Man movies, they're all the same. What else you got, man?
Teenage, come on. There's some sort of high school.
What about Spider-Man the musical? Did you ever get to see it?
No, I never did. Did you?
No.
Okay. My movie.
Nobody did.
Nobody did, really. Bono did. He sat in the front row every night. Kick-Ass. I would say Kick-Ass is a good one. And
that's pretty good.
It's interesting. This was in my review. There was a moviegoer who was walking out and said that was basically the PG version of Deadpool, which is fair to say, I think. And I also don't necessarily think that's a dig. It's probably true that this is the PG version of Deadpool, but I would reverse it and say that Deadpool is really the R-rated version of Spider-Man. Let's
all coming out of the same factory at this point. It's just different mask, different actors.
Well, those are different studios too. I mean, Fox is Deadpool, right?
Yeah, but the
it's all
character is
Marvel.
heavily influenced on Spider-Man.
Right. What did you learn from this movie?
That Michael Keaton needs to play more villains. If I enjoyed anything out of this movie, it was Michael Keaton, the villain. That all worked for me. Usually, sometimes the lead up to how he got his powers is bad, or they focus too much on why he wants the revenge against
his motivation was so good.
The hero in the film. And this one really worked for me. This is like, oh, I actually believe that this would happen. Exactly. His motivation was real. It worked. True.
Would you, I'm putting you point blank, would you say he's the best villain Marvel has given us so far?
I can't think of all of them. So off the top of my head, I'll just say yeah.
I mean, and that's crazy. It's Vulture, for God's sake. He's like the third string of Spidey's villains. So.
Would you say that, Matt?
What?
That he's the best villain Marvel has given us?
I was actually thinking about this today as I was driving around. I can't think of a better one either. So yes, I would. I mean, he's the best Spider-Man. He's the best Marvel Cinematic Universe villain to date.
Wow. Bold statement. So what did you learn from this movie?
Well, I was in doubt of this movie. I think if you go back a few episodes when we did the Eye for an Eye, I said it's probably going to suck, but I'm interested because it's Spider-Man. Never doubt Marvel. They are just on a crazy roll. That is what I learned. These guys can do no wrong right now, so don't doubt them.
Unless they make Howard the Duck movie.
I'm ready for it.
Oh.
Man, I'll eat anything Marvel at this point. It doesn't matter.
Hey, order me seconds.
Movie poster quote.
Yeah, what do you got, Ryan?
I got
You're
one
coming
for
with
you.
the fire. You're excited.
Don't get bit by another Spider-Man movie.
I like that one.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, mine's way better. Mine's way better. Are you ready for you get your finger on the beat button, Phil? Fuck you, Sony. That's my quote.
Rise is more family friendly.
Yeah.
You could put some asterisks.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say all that, even though I would, as I said, I think it's still the fourth best. Where would you really rank it? Because we threw a poll out. It's definitely not the third best. I mean, the second best. It's maybe the third. It's either the third or fourth best.
See, the first one.
So why would you say F you, Sony? They gave us two of the best Spider-Mans, and they gave us one of the best comic book movies of all time in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, but they started making movies just because they had to keep the rights.
They still gave us a good Spider-Man
There's been
movie.
6 Spider-Man movies, right?
This
I
is
think
the
the
sixth.
seventh.
Yeah.
Oh, seventh?
This is the
I don't know.
sixth.
Okay. But Spider-Man 2, one of the best comic book movies of all
No,
time.
I agree with
so
you.
why would you say that to him?
Because they were making movies just to make movies because they had to make the movies in order to keep the rights to the character, and that's the wrong reason to make a movie.
It's interesting how they get it right sometimes on the second one, like because I thought X-Men 2 was superior to X-Men 1 and one of the best comic book movies I've seen.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 was great, and
Dark Knight. Ooh, let's
Dark
talk about
Knight.
Christopher Nolan.
Yes. How many Jaws really quick for Spider-Man? I'm going 2.
Listen, in all
I'm
seriousness,
surprised you gave it 2.
Yeah.
it's 3.5 Jaws.
All right, there you go. At least it wasn't a perfect 4 for Matter. I wouldn't have
No,
went over there and strangled you.
I really loved it though.
Yeah.
Did
All right.
Elias see it?
I didn't.
He's waiting for Netflix.
Yeah.
All right. As you said, let's talk Christopher Nolan. He has a new movie coming out, Dunkirk. So we decided, and we've done this, as we said, with Pixar. We got an artist that we have seen basically all of his work. 2 of us are completists. Matt is only missing his very first film. Following, we decided to rank our Christopher Nolan films and just get the discussion going about Christopher Nolan. What we'll do is name our 9 through 7 round robin, and I'll start. How's that?
Sounds good.
No, why don't we let Matt Stromer
Why
start?
don't we? He's
Yeah.
the guest.
Okay.
And what we'll do is let Matt Stromer start. Did you have a difficult time narrowing down your favorite Christopher Nolan film?
Actually, it was a little tough.
A little daunting, right?
Yeah. I took all the films and I'm like, okay, I like that one more than that. Yeah.
As did I. It
Thank
took
you.
me a long time because I think, Matt, you mentioned I like all of his films. There's not anything on here that I'm like, well, yeah, that's just a piece of junk, so that's number 9.
Yeah.
No, not the case. Really, even between my number 9 and 8, I'm like, not sure where to put these 2 films. So without further ado, your number 9, 8, and 7.
My number 9 is 1999's Following, his black and white first official film, I guess. And I don't really remember much. I was taking bath salts at the time I saw that. But I remember it was really good. And number 8 would be Memento.
Wow.
From 2000.
Way down at
Jesus.
number 8.
Yeah.
This is
That
gonna be
is a
interesting.
call for controversy.
I remember liking it, but I actually saw it twice, which was better. It was actually better the second time. But now I don't think I would ever watch it again, so that's why it's low. Like if a movie has really great replay value, I mean, I'll constantly want.
You can literally watch this movie forward and backward, though, dude. Of course, it's got
Yeah.
replay value.
Yeah.
Not for you.
No.
Okay.
Wow.
And then at number 7 is 2014's Interstellar.
Wow. Wait, Interstellar
Super
at
low.
number 7? Holy cow.
Batman movies are 1, 2, and 3 for this guy.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
Interstellar
at
made
number
me
7.
cry too. That was an
An emotional film.
it was, and I didn't even expect it.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
All right. That swings it around to me. And as I mentioned, I am not the full completist. I don't have the following under my belt, or following 1998. So I'll just go 8 and 7. At number 8, I have The Dark Knight Rises. I think this is probably his biggest misstep. He tried to do too much. It was too grand. There are some moments of genius, but ultimately it sort of fell apart to what was an amazing film, its predecessor. It couldn't possibly stand up to that. Number 7, that's where I slot in Insomnia. I like all his movies. It's low on my list, but I really enjoyed it. If anything, I'm a bit of an Insomnia apologist. I love it. It is not my bottom of the barrel.
There you go. My number 9, and again, too, with Matthew Stromer, I agree. Went back and forth rearranging a couple of these as I thought about them. At number 9, I also have Following 1998, and it is, for the jawheads that don't know even what the plot is about, it is about a person who follows people for inspiration. He's a writer and eventually follows a burglar who is breaking into apartments, and then they sort of become a team. I'll leave it there because it's a Christopher Nolan. There's a little bit of a twist. So interesting, but my number 9. My number 8, Matt, is Insomnia. And again, I didn't hate the film either. I want to rewatch it. Making this list, I thought, God, I only saw it one time, I think, when I rented it on DVD. So I'd be interested to go back. It does have a great cast of Pacino, Hilary Swank, Robin Williams. So that's where I got Insomnia.
Rare turn from Williams.
At number 7, I agree with you totally, Matt. The Dark Knight Rises, 2012. And after the success of its predecessor, expectations were riding probably higher
Super
than
high.
they probably should have been. There were no expectations he was going to hit at that point. I've come to like it more, and if anything, it gave us the Bane voice. Give me your Bane voice.
No, Ray the movie guy. I will not give you my Bane voice.
It's not bad.
Good.
That's pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
there you go. So it did give us the Bane voice, so it sits at number 7 for me. So
I just love an opportunity to do my Bane
Yeah,
voice.
there you
But that
go.
the opening scene to that movie
Oh,
is
I
one
love
of
it.
the greatest opening scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
It's got some good moments.
yeah,
There's no doubt.
and it hasn't come up on your list yet, and we are at your list. Your number 6, 5, and 4.
Okay,
Matthew.
so number 6 is The Dark Knight Rises.
Okay, that's where you have it at.
I seriously, I love that opening scene, and I actually got to see that opening scene as a preview like 3 months before it actually came out. I forget what movie I saw. It was at the IMAX theater at Navy Pier. I forget what movie I was seeing, but they showed that clip, that opening scene.
but you remember that.
Yeah, and the Bane voice was actually different. The Bane voice that they ended up using, they tweaked it after that initial.
I remember that.
So
Yeah,
do I.
the plane sequence, right?
Everybody was complaining that they couldn't understand Bane in the trailer.
And then Nolan's argument was, I like to create environments that I guess are sometimes foreign to some people, because sometimes you hear things, but you really don't know what they're saying, and it creates an environment. Like, if you're hanging out with people, someone might be talking, but you don't necessarily hear what they're saying. And he was trying to experiment with like sort of putting you in the moment, and maybe because you could hear some of them, but then there was just other things. There was like
What was
grunts
that?
and noises. Yeah, but
Interesting.
and number 5, Inception.
5.
I liked it.
Yeah, tough crowd though.
Watched it twice.
Yeah,
And then
no crying, I guess.
No, I didn't cry in that one. But I was constantly like, WTF, going, what the hell? Next film, number 5, Insomnia.
I like it. It's a good spot
Number
for it.
4.
Oh,
Number
I'm
4.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, number 4,
Yeah.
Insomnia.
Okay, that high. So you've seen it recently, or
I've seen Insomnia at least 3 times, and what I like about that movie is the movie actually makes you feel like
You can't sleep.
you can't sleep. And I don't know how he does it, but he does it in that film. I feel really tired when I watch that movie.
It's interesting.
Drained.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I got to rewatch it.
yeah.
And Robin Williams is fantastic, and Pacino's fantastic, and the cinematography is great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Well, I
looking
mean,
forward.
they're
I'm
always
looking
great in
forward to
his movies.
rewatching it for sure.
Me too. All right, that swings it around to my number 6, 5, and 4. At 6, here's where I have Inception.
What? What the hell? You guys are
what the hell?
numbskulls.
It's a derivative.
Wow.
It's derivative of the Matrix.
Holy
Anybody
cow.
who says different is selling you something. I'm
Jesus.
sorry. Number 5, Batman Begins. There it is. It's right in the middle of the pack. At number 4, this is where I put Interstellar. I think the movie's genius. Again, it could be higher on the list, but I think he's got movies that are that much better.
I can't believe this. Wow. You guys are shocking me here. I thought Inception, Interstellar, those were the heavy hitters coming way down the line.
Yeah.
All right.
Middle of the pack.
We swing it over to my number 6, 5, and 4. And at 6, Batman Begins.
Okay.
This was the relaunch of the Batman series, which at the time I did not want at all. I was done with Batman.
We all were.
And I was shocked how much I did enjoy the film. So I give it credit at number 6. Number 5, this is where I have a film that has not come up on either of your lists yet, The Prestige. And I do like it a lot, but putting together this list is difficult. Fun thriller, and it has David Bowie as Tesla. And I remember thinking they could just do an offshoot of all about Tesla and have David Bowie play him, and
Especially in that universe.
I'd be happy just seeing what's going on at that house.
I would too.
And then at number 4, this is where I have Memento. I did go back recently and watch this less than a year ago for the first time since seeing it, the original. And I say this, and it's not a shot at the movie. It's the greatest gimmick movie of all time in the sense of this backward forth thing. It's amazing idea, but I don't know. I don't remember it being as memorable as the very first time I saw it. I think all that time passing, I went back and I watched it, and I still liked it. It's obviously sitting at number 4, but it didn't have that like wow factor after seeing it a second time. So, all right, we're getting into our heavy hitters. Your number 3 and 2.
Okay, 3 is The Dark Knight.
Whoa, very low.
Wondering if that's going to be anybody's number
I guess it's
1
not
there.
very
Yeah,
low, but
I mean,
top
but-
3.
Okay.
I thought Heath Ledger was a fantastic choice, and he really just went above and beyond, God rest his soul, in that performance. And just seeing all that was shot without digital effects in Chicago, living in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, just...
Still sometimes on Lower Whacker, I think about
Yeah.
it. In fact, every time I'm on Lower Whacker, I think about it.
And love it. Number 2 would be Batman Begins.
Wow, higher than The Dark Knight? This is... Explain yourself. Explain yourself.
Yeah.
Batman Begins because it's more... and, I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong, because it's my 3rd favorite, but like Dark Knight is really like pomp and circumstance and very event and bigger. Whereas Batman Begins is sort of like it's almost like, his Insomnia or Prestige or like a simple story. I don't know if I'm making any sense to you.
You are, but I still don't see how that makes it better than you just prefer that type of story.
Yeah.
Is it maybe that you like Katie Holmes more than Gyllenhaal?
She would be the only thing that I would take out of that movie, actually. Yeah.
All right.
That was the only thing that bothered me.
Matt, you're 3 and 2.
Well, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. I really liked it because my first job was working in a comic book store. And this was from 1985 to 1990. So a lot of what we're
that's a
seeing,
good long while.
it was a great time to be in comics, to be working in a comic book store, because that was when the independent comics were coming out, and Marvel and DC had so much. There was so much going on. But what's crazy is everything that's coming out now. I remember when it was a comic book first.
That's funny.
In that period, and Batman Year One, that series. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yes.
That when I was watching Batman Begins, I thought this is
Frank Miller.
Yeah, this is like Batman Year One.
Yeah, which is funny because everything that's going on in the MCU right now is basically the stuff that Brian Michael Bendis wrote in the aughts with the Avengers Disassembled and Civil War and stuff like that. Okay, that swings it to my number 3 and 2. And I have at number 3, The Prestige. One of my favorite movies of all time, period. It might even appear in my top 10 of just my favorite movies. Love it, love magic. The actors in this, amazing. And like Ryan mentioned, David Bowie's Nikola Tesla. Just when Hugh Jackman goes to his house and all the light bulbs are glowing in the snow. That's such an amazing scene. At number 2, this is where I have The Dark Knight. I think not only is it one of the greatest... You know what? I'm just going to come out and say it. This is the greatest superhero movie, bar none. There really isn't any superhero movie better than The Dark
It's
Knight.
the Citizen Kane of comic book movies.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
I think it is too.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And we have a tie at number 2. Same. And my number 3, going back there, this is where I have Interstellar. 2014, by far his most ambitious project to date, especially at that point.
Yeah.
And it is, you're talking about space-time, you're talking about love, distant planets, and Matt Damon randomly appears in the movie. But I think it was, again, high expectations. Seeing some of those visuals done in Stanley Kubrick-esque 2001 Space Odyssey, everybody was super excited for this film. And it's tough to hit those expectations sometimes, but I loved Interstellar. Also,
Did you cry?
I did, yes. Yeah, cried. Number 2, and I will say this. He has 9 films. 2 of them are masterpieces. And there's not a lot of directors out there as you go through the list that I think have 2 masterpieces already under their belt. And I give the only comic book movie made to date that is a masterpiece is 2008's A Dark Knight. It's just absolutely amazing for all the reasons that you said. Heath Ledger, the realism. When I go back, I know you love your Marvel movies and I get involved in them, but when I go and I watch something like a Spider-Man and I go back and I watch The Dark Knight, it's like, they're on 2 different planes. They're not even the same thing.
Well, all these superhero movies that are coming out now, they're just generic, and it's popcorn. Whereas The Dark Knight, there's real love and craft behind that.
And I think not using so much CGI adds so much more realism to it, where I think you just think that this character is much more real and tangible compared to watching a CGI Spider-Man swing all over the screen.
Interestingly, the worst part of that Batman movie is Batman.
The voice?
The stupid voice, yeah. Although it's stuck, right, to the pop culture. You watch the Lego Batman movie, and now that's a thing. Like, that's how Batman talks now. Even in Batman Superman with Batfleck.
That's true.
But I hated it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that's so stupid.
So that was my
Almost
number.
ruined it.
That was my number 2. And just doing the math here as an intelligent guy, I realize all 3 of us have different number 1s. Matthew Stromer, your favorite Christopher Nolan movie?
The Prestige.
There it is.
So I wanted to say something while you were saying one of the. It's in my top 10 of favorite movies of all time. I've seen it 6 times.
Wow.
And it was so much better the second time, because you saw everything that lined up. And David Bowie is Tesla, and Hugh Jackman. The twist at the end.
The twist is so sinister,
and it's just
it's awesome.
The only thing that actually comes close to the finale of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the classic shot of the Ark in the
warehouse,
is the last shot of The Prestige.
That's true.
It is.
Well
That's
said.
Interesting. Yeah, there's similarities there for sure.
And no matter how many times I watch it, I just marvel at how I always feel like I'm watching this again for the first time, and I forget stuff that's coming up. I mean, that movie has a spell. I love it.
Yeah, I learned how to do the little finger trick with the ring after watching that movie. The Christian Bale character does.
And he's so great in it.
He is great. He's better than this than he is in Batman. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Matt, you're number 1.
Well, doing the math again, I'm sure you could figure it out. My number 1 is Memento. I am a sucker for a good noir detective story. The way that this is told backward to front, I've never seen anything like it before, and I've never seen anything like it since. It is a completely unique piece of cinema that you honestly need like a flow chart to see this, how he crafted this story. I can't believe that it wouldn't be everyone's number 1 film from him. I love Guy Pearce in it. The tattoos, the whole premise, there's a lot to chew on here. And I have rewatched it, and I think it's just as good. I've literally watched this film backwards and forwards, like it both ways. I'll start in the middle and go to the beginning. Who cares? It's that interesting.
And you know what's crazy, listeners, is that everything he just said is tattooed on his stomach.
So I don't forget.
Yeah, he won't remember this tomorrow.
That's true.
Yeah.
Tattoo.
So again, doing the math, and if you've been listening along, my number 1 Christopher Nolan movie is 2010's Inception. And I know you say it's a ripoff of The Matrix, but that's on a low. I mean, that's just a comparable
same universe.
Yeah, of the same universe. But we're talking about something completely different. Dreams. We're talking about. I love the idea, and I've talked about this about when I watched it a second time, realizing that the Inception was actually done on DiCaprio's character. And that it's not this whole heist film, that the heist is a way to keep getting deeper into his mind. And this is my take. I haven't talked to Christopher Nolan, but this is the way I view the movie, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, because at the end, I think that top spinning is meaningless because he now feels like he got rid of that dread that he killed his wife. He has this feeling that he can't see his kid's face every time. His totem in the movie is actually the kids. The kids always go to turn around and you never see their face. The only time you finally see their face is at the very end of the film. And that's because he finally feels the guilt is off his shoulders, that he is not responsible for his wife. And that's the inception of the movie.
But dude, that fight scene in the hotel
Yes, was awesome also. So there's a lot going on. But again, I may be completely wrong, but that's how I view it. And I didn't have that viewing until the second or third time. And then it's like, oh, there's a lot more going on in this movie. So.
And let's be honest. What he created visually is probably a little bit better than The Matrix, where you see the city on top of you and to the sides of you and folds in on itself. It's pretty cool.
You know, it's pretty interesting. Is after I saw that movie, I always take a lot of pictures of Chicago buildings. And after I saw that movie, I started taking my pictures of Chicago buildings and mirroring them. And so now every picture looks like an Inception picture.
That's cool. I got to check that out.
Awesome. Now, we like to open it up when we're ranking our films to our engineer and our editor. Elias, what is your favorite Christopher Nolan film?
I have to agree with you, Rye. Inception. Thank you for the ding. It's pretty amazing to see a filmmaker finally get the kind of budget they deserve and maybe longed for. And do, right after The Dark Knight, he did Inception. And it's almost like, Wes Anderson when he got to do, so you see Bottle Rocket and then you see Rushmore and then Royal Tenenbaums. It's like, wow, these artists now get these budgets that they deserve, and just how awesome he got to do it with these actors and on this big of a budget.
Yeah, that larger scale. I agree with you.
Although he did steal it all from that DuckTales comic book. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
If you look it up online, look up Inception, DuckTales comic book. It's all the exact same kind of story. It's crazy.
Wow. Interesting. Editor Phil.
I mean, he didn't steal it, but that's a controversy.
Editor Phil, your favorite Christopher Nolan movie?
Well, so I'm going to be the only one who says this film. My favorite type of story is a coming-of-age story, but my second favorite type of story is any kind of space story. I've always just been a big space kid, whether it was Star Wars or Star Trek, anything in outer space. I thought
So
was
it's
like
Memento.
The coolest. No, it's Interstellar. And I thought, like, from the hours that I've put into, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson Nova specials and all the different kind of Science Channel documentaries on, like, quantum physics and the physics of outer space, I thought was just amazing, and they just did it very well, and I thought it was great. I also cried.
See, we got
He
takes
wrote that
around the
movie.
table.
He wrote that movie with his brother.
He
right?
did. He
Christopher
did. In fact, I have a little fact here about Christopher Nolan. Listen to this. His 9 films have grossed $4.2 billion worldwide. They've garnered 26 Oscar nominations and 7 wins. Nolan has co-written several of his films with his younger brother, Jonathan, and runs the production company Syncope. Is that how they say it?
Syncope.
Syncope, with his wife, Emma Thompson. So.
And how many of Christopher Nolan's 9 movies is Michael Caine in?
That is
Without,
a real
without looking.
Yeah.
Let's throw it in the jaw box.
Throw it in the jaw
Thank
box.
you.
That's a good one. All right. If we missed your favorite Christopher Nolan movie, it was a number one that wasn't one of our number ones, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or write us feedback at cinemajaw.com. We'll get the discussion going. What we're going to do is take a break, and when we come back, a special interview with Thomas Ian Nichols from Rookie of the Year and American Pie fame, plus trivia, World War II movie trivia. We'll be right back on Cinemajaw.
You guys want to do some bath salts?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hi, this is Matt Kay with a Cinemajaw movie fact. Insomnia and Following are the only movies directed by Christopher Nolan that are not listed in IMDb's top 250 as of 2016. His other 7 movies are a part of the best 250 movies ever made as voted by IMDb users. And that is your Cinemajaw movie fact.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And And we are back on Cinemajaw, hanging out with Matt Stromer. One more time, the website, because it is a tricky website for the jawheads who want to follow.
It's not a website you want to tell someone like in a crowded restaurant or bar. You know, it's hipbattersea.com, hipbattersea.com.
And what's the significance of that word?
Hip Battersea are two different things. Two things combined from two of my visual inspirations. Battersea is the Battersea Power Station in southern England that is on the album cover to Pink Floyd Animals.
Okay.
And the hip part is the name of the graphics art house that called Hypnosis that made all of those Pink Floyd album covers and other famous bands' album covers.
So you're a big Floyd fan, or you're just a fan of that?
I'm a fan of their visual aesthetic. I love their music, absolutely. I'm going to see Roger Waters in a couple weeks, actually, here.
Cool. Nice. I'm a big Floyd fan, too.
Where is he playing? Wrigley?
UIC.
UIC. He has played Wrigley, though, I believe.
He did.
Yeah.
He did the wall there, yeah.
Yeah, nice. And also, your YouTube channel and Instagram, Matt Stromer. Pretty simple.
Yeah, YouTube /
Stromer.
Mr. MR Stromer. Mr. Stromer.
Do it. Do it, Jawheads.
Yes, do.
Before we get to our interview with Thomas Ian Nichols and before we get to trivia, we did throw a few items into the jaw box. And I know, Elias, for the first time in the history of Cinemajaw, we are recording at Elias's place. So he's not even in the jaw box. Does it qualify as a jaw box?
Well, we're actually recording this from inside of the jaw box.
Maybe we're supposed to actually get out of the jaw box.
Just like Inception.
Heck, let's get Elias out of there.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
What's in the box?
Thank you, Rye. I'm glad you mentioned it. I didn't know if it was going to be mentioned. That's why I'm going through my early midlife crisis living in Wrigleyville. If you're from out of town, it's where a lot of bros and party people live. I was fortunate enough to move here, big Cubs fan, right the year that they happened to win the World Series.
You're why they won.
Thank you.
They just needed that one more little bit of support that put them over the top.
Which is awesome because, again, shout out to Ryan of getting us this interview that the listeners are about to hear right down the street from me at Wrigley Field.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, yeah, thank you guys. Again, excuse the smell. I know I talk about the jaw box all the time, and now we're finally here. So let's jump into the questions. When was the last time Matthew Stromer was on Cinemajaw? That was Jaw 158.
Wow. What was? Did you have the topic?
The topic was best sophomore entries, which sounds like a really cool topic.
For sure it does.
Yeah.
158. All right. I don't mind if the Jawheads go back and listen to 158.
Yeah.
I always say pre-100s don't listen to me.
Yeah, exactly. I was on there for maybe 20 episodes by that point. Let's see. The directors of the Apes series, the new trilogy. The first one was Rise with Rupert Wyatt, and then the next two were Matt Reeves,
nice.
Dawn and War.
Cool.
By the way, I really did. So the first Apes film I saw was the Tim Burton one, and I was maybe in that high school age where I was kind of mesmerized by Helena Bonham Carter's eyes in the ape, and I was like, wow, she's like dreamy or whatever it was. And I thought it was just like, for me, it was just a fun, dumb movie. I thought that's what they were supposed to be. And so I kind of enjoyed that. Anyway, Michael Caine in Nolan movies. Do we have any guesses off the top of our heads?
I was going to say 7.
I'd say 5.
6.
6 it is. Wow.
Wow.
Yes, we have Interstellar, Dark Knight Rises, Inception, The Dark Knight, The Prestige, and Batman Begins.
One of the only elements I didn't like in Interstellar was at that point I had come to realize that Michael Caine not only is in all of these movies, but he's the one that explains all of Christopher Nolan's movies. And it's a bit redundant. It's like, oh, here comes Christopher Nolan to tell us, Michael Caine to tell us what the Christopher Nolan movie is about.
Exposition that's written pretty well.
Yeah. And here, and more so than I think in any of them was this time where he's explaining, how they're going to travel and how he's going to get back. And it's like, oh no, that was the one issue I had with it.
Well, he's not in Dunkirk, so he would have been like the Germans,
But Kenneth Branagh is, and he's in like every Nazi movie.
Yeah. Is he?
Practically.
Wow.
Don't get me started on Kenneth Branagh. No, I love Kenneth.
No, I do too.
That was all.
We did throw a poll question out. As we mentioned, Spider-Man came out in theaters. Pretty simple. Throw a poll question out. what's the best Spider-Man to date? Now, on Twitter, they only allow us 4 results. So we gave you the best 4 Spider-Mans.
In your
Spider-Man
opinion.
1, Spider-Man 2, these are the Raimi films. The Amazing Spider-Man, and the new one, Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, keep in mind, you know Matthew Stromer. As people vote, there's something brand new. They usually vote for the new choice. Just keep that in mind.
That's not true. Where's that written? Where's the study that shows that?
What are you talking about?
I mean, that's not true.
I just said it. It's true.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
People do. They get
You're
really
such a-
hog wild on, you know, when something comes out, like it's like, what? This is the greatest blah, blah, blah of all time. Everybody starts doing these polls and it rises up. Give it time to settle down is all I'm saying. But that said, where did you cast your vote on this particular poll?
Spider-Man 2.
As did I. Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi, for sure. You would agree. You have not seen Spider-Man Homecoming, but
I have not.
you agree Spider-Man 2 is the best.
Spider-Man 2 is fantastic.
I voted Spider-Man 2. Matthew Stromer, Spider-Man 2. Matt, Spider-Man 2. Elias, give us the results of this poll question.
Let's start off with the bottom of the barrel. 7%. Number 4 was The Amazing Spider-Man. Not so amazing.
Yeah.
Number 3 was 17%, was Spider-Man 1. And like Rai said, it was a tight race at the number 1 spot. And 35% came in Spider-Man Homecoming. So obviously the number 1 was with 41% was Spider-Man 2.
There you go.
See, the reason Spider-Man 1 is not as good as The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield is because Andrew Garfield is arguably the better Spider-Man. A. B. Stupid organic web shooters. No.
Okay.
Spider-Man is a scientist and an inventor. That's part of what makes him cool as a character. For webs to shoot out of some weird, like, anus on his wrist, I just don't get that. It's stupid.
Did you ever see those 70s made-for-TV movies?
I have.
With a wonka, 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 wonka.
Yeah, where they just turn the camera upside down. Yeah.
The Batman effect.
Those are great. I love those.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, is like, I don't go that much into that kind of detail because I haven't read the comics. I don't sit there and analyze that Peter Parker even exists other than...
Have you
what
ever
I'm
read
about
a
to see.
comic?
No. I was
You've
just
never read a
discussing-
comic?
No, I
Never?
mean, not a full comic, no.
What about the Sunday Funnies? You ever read the Funnies?
No.
Comic book.
No, I've never read a comic book.
Nor the Funnies.
I've read Why the Last Man, the first issue, and then I realized that there were other issues, and I was
You're
just
the jerk
done.
who's
I was
doing-
just done.
Have
with
you
it.
read a graphic novel?
Never. No.
So, would you read something if it was given to you as a gift?
Matt gave me a gift.
And he still hasn't read it.
Did you read it?
Apparently not.
A couple of pages.
What did I give him? Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics.
I would give him Craven's Last Hunt, Spider-Man graphic novel.
That is a great one, actually. He wouldn't read it.
I wouldn't?
It's really good.
Okay, well, I don't know about these the backstory on the web shooter, so that's why that none of that would be like even come into my universe of judging the Spider-Man if it's organic or if it's coming out of some machine he built.
I'm going to go on eBay and I'm going to get you the Planet of the Apes comic books from the 70s.
There you
You
go.
will definitely read those.
He might like
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
There you
Apes?
go.
Apes?
Yeah, you love apes. When you go to the zoo, that's the first place you go
Right to the
Yeah,
apes.
right to
Right to
Yeah.
the apes. Oh, I love
Or
it.
the apes.
All right, was that everything in the jaw box?
That was all.
Get back in there.
Will do.
Matt, as we said, we're recording here at Elias's. We're in Wrigleyville, and we
Yes.
came here for a reason.
We did.
The Music Box is putting on a special presentation all summer long. Movies in the Park at Wrigley Field. They put up this beautiful new plaza right alongside Wrigley Field. And the first film playing was Rookie of the Year,
Beautiful.
a Cubs classic. This stars, as we mentioned, Thomas Ian Nichols as this young pitcher who goes out, breaks his arm, and then gets a amazing fastball. 7 years old, whatever he's supposed to be in the movie, goes out and plays for the Cubs, and he just mows down hitters. What's better than that?
Nothing.
You know what's better?
What?
An interview with Thomas Ian Nichols.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So, enjoy this, Jawheads.
Hey, this is Matt from Cinemajaw. I'm here with Rye the Movie Guy and Thomas Ian Nicholas. We are standing under the screen at the new plaza at Wrigley Field. Thomas, you may well know from the American Pie films, also Rookie of the Year. Thomas, welcome to Cinemajaw, sir.
Well, thank you for having me. Glad to be on the show and standing in the new plaza.
Yeah, we lucked out on the weather. It was crazy earlier.
For sure. We are at this plaza because this is the first movie, one of the first movies they're showing out here, and it's Rookie of the Year, in which you starred. And I guess let's get started there. We're two-part question. How did you get started in acting, and how did you land the role in Rookie of the Year?
Well, I just turned 37 a few days ago.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I started acting when I was 6, And I got started because my mom was casting atmosphere for some like really low budget independent Jan Michael Vincent movies. Good stuff. And she got a call on like a Sunday night, like said, hey, we need an altar boy, like tomorrow morning on set. It was like 10 p.m. They needed the call time at 6 a.m. So my mom woke me up before school. Was, you're coming to work with Mom. So that was how I got my first experience on set, was watching a drunk Jan Michael Vincent try to act. But I had a great time on set and, followed all the direction. I just loved the vibe of like 100 people together creating a movie. And I bugged my mom about wanting to do it more and more. And so flash forward 6 years, I auditioned for Rookie of the Year. No callback.
Really?
So I was switching agents, which that's a whole other story. I'm skipping a lot of points.
Details.
These are the bullet points, the cliff notes of my life,
Sure.
if you will, and career. So my new agent says, hey, I got this audition for you for Rookie of the Year. And I go, oh, hey, I already went in on that. She goes, well, they obviously don't remember you, so go again. So I went again, and I got a call back, and then I got the job. And it was crazy because they auditioned kids in L.A., Chicago, and New York. They must have seen like 3,000 kids for the job. And there I was, got it by being in the right place at the right time. Twice.
That's crazy. I thought you were going to say, like, I fell off my bike, and when I healed, I had super acting powers.
Like it really did happen.
Yeah.
Well, that probably helped in the audition when they said, can you throw 101 miles an hour? And I said yes, because I had fallen off my
But that
my
leads
bike.
us to this
I fell off
question.
my radio flyer.
We think that the role of Henry is every kid's dream, right? He gets to play for the Chicago Cubs. What kind of baseball experience did you have as a kid when you auditioned for the role? Were you playing Little League or anything?
I had absolutely no baseball experience. Much like Henry, I was raised by my mom. I mean, I've got siblings from my dad and stuff. I'm the youngest of 7, but they're half siblings. So anyway, I was like Henry. I was an only child. So sports wasn't like a thing in my house, which is why my first sort of, introduction into a sports team was the Cubs, and that's why I'm a Cubs fan. You kind of always remember your first game. Well, my first time going on Wrigley Field was in front of 35,002 people in between a doubleheader, walking to the mound and having them all like chant Henry.
That's awesome.
From that point on, how could you not be a Cubs fan?
So speaking of getting to film inside Wrigley Field at that young age, were you aware of how special it was and like the legend that surrounds this team?
Oh yeah, I mean the idea that at the time there was only 3 old stadiums and now there's only 2.
Sure.
But in '92, Tiger Stadium was still around, and so I knew that like the history of the park and that it had been here forever. So, I don't think I quite understood it, but at the same time, like, it was just such a cool experience, like, being here for an entire month and filming. And I to answer your question, too, like, training for the movie, I had about 2 weeks. So I went out with a neighbor who taught me the mechanics of pitching so that I could throw the full 60 feet 6 inches.
Nice.
So,
and it looked realistic.
That's why I always make it to the plate when I throw out the first pitch for the Cubs games.
Now, speaking of the stadium, and as we mentioned, we're in the plaza. We can literally turn around and look at Wrigley Field. Is there one particular memory that stands out above the rest filming inside there? Maybe something goofy out in the outfield or one of the dugouts?
Man, I'm trying to think of there wasn't necessarily anything real goofy because it was October when we shot here. And so it was cold. And, we'd be out essentially where the plaza is where we had the trailers, that we would do school in or relax in. And
yeah,
then
it was a parking lot then.
Yeah, it was just a parking lot. So then we'd have a really long walk to get, through the stadium and out onto the field. I don't know. I mean, to me, my favorite memory is that first one. Just because Daniel Stern got on a loudspeaker mic and told the whole crowd that we were making a movie, told him about, Henry breaking his arm, pitching for the Cubs, and the Cubs are going to win the World Series. And everyone went nuts. And so then he's like, we're going to have him walk from the bullpen to the mound. I want you guys all to chant Henry. So he started him off, and then all of a sudden it was Henry, Henry, Henry. For 2 minutes, man, my name was Henry.
Wow.
And the best part of that story is actually after we left, because we only had 10 minutes in between the doubleheader to a 360, Steadicam shot. Well, in the second game, the Cubs were down, and the crowd started chanting for Henry.
Oh, man. They wanted you to come out and pitch for real.
Yeah, and I have met some people who were at at both of those games, and even some that were claimed they're I started the second chant.
That's awesome. Speaking of life imitating arts, Where were you on the night of Game 7 when it all went down, man? And how was that? How did that feel?
Well, I flew out here for Game 4 because it was the first game at home that I could make.
Sure.
And so then, they did the first 3, right at the other state. They didn't do them here. That was the first home game.
Was
yes.
It, first 2 were there, and then Game 3 and 4 and 5
3 and 4,
were here,
right.
yeah.
I couldn't make it to 3, so I made it to 4. And then, we lost. So
it looked bleak at that point.
It looked bleak up to the very end.
So
Yeah.
I was flying home the next day during Game 5, and they won. But I was checking the score on my phone. So then I became very superstitious. And when Game 6 happened, when they went there again, I was like, I can't watch. I got to check a game on my phone. And then they won. I was like, I can't watch Game 7. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
I didn't watch Game 7. I was checking the score, like refreshing my phone like every second, like going along. And then when I saw like they were about to win, I finally turned on the TV and then like kind of rewound it a little bit on my DVR and watched, some of the
elation.
magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was so stoked though. Even my son like got stoked, and now he's a Cubs fan.
That's awesome.
That is
and
awesome.
One of the great shots is the last shot in Rookie of the Year when Henry has the Cubs World Series ring. You tweeted this image out after they won the World Series. Did you ever think that image was going to be so iconic because the fans were dying for that one moment? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed apropos. I was also, kind of joining the fray online with the battle between Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn and Henry Rowan Gardner. Although I already knew from coming out 2 years ago for the division championship debacle against the Mets where we got swept, because I was at Game 4 also. I got to stop coming to Game 4 of like division, like pennant races and World Series. So no more Game 4s for me. But anyway, I knew they weren't going to have it because they only have lineage players throwing out the first pitch during the postseason, and that's sort of an MLB rule. But I still joined the fight. Yeah, I joined the fight online just to like be funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, I had that I knew like when they won, I'm like, I'm definitely tweeting that image for sure.
We have to talk a little bit about Kevin and American Pie and that whole experience. How did that even get started?
I mean, there's as far as like how did I get that job,
so
it's
a cultural phenomenon, right?
And were you shocked when you read the script? I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast before, how shocking of a movie it was.
And it changed
we're
comedy.
Roughly the same age, so it was like a big deal when it came out. Were you aware of that, I guess, when you were reading the script?
I mean, when I first read the script, I may have mentioned this before, the first scene was actually Kevin getting instructions on what he should do with his hand from Vicky. And so I didn't finish the scene. I threw the script in the trash and called my agent and said, why are you sending me like teenage porn?
Oh, man.
And so then they couldn't find who they wanted. I think they tried to hire Andrew Keegan, but he was already, who I went to high school with, he was already booked on 10 Things I Hate About You. So they couldn't have him. And then my agent's like, listen, they really want to see you. And I was like, fine, I'll read the script. Like, let me see what this whole thing is. Everyone wants this job. And I read it, and I was like, I was laughing like the whole time, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, man, I was an idiot to like judge a book by its cover or by its first few pages.
Yeah.
And it was a game changer. Did you have a sense of that while you guys were making the film, that it was going to really, everything that came after, there's a before and an after of American Pie?
I mean, I don't think I really understood what it meant until it was like in the theaters and making like, climbing up to that $100 million, theatrical mark.
Yeah.
And even then I couldn't have said like, oh, we're going to make 3 more of these, like who knew? I'm always just the type of person that is just happy to have a job, and I'm thankful for American Pie and the franchise of that, because it means that I'm not a 37-year-old disgruntled, angry has-been that was the star of Rookie of the Year a long time ago. Because, the film is 24 years old.
Sure.
And now American Pie is 18 years old. So, yeah.
Chances we see another American Pie movie, I believe I wouldn't bet against it.
They wrote it. It's sitting on a shelf at Universal. They hired John and Hayden, who directed and wrote American Reunion, to put pen to paper. And now I'm just waiting for, I guess Universal to pull the trigger. If they call, I'll be like, hey, yeah, let's do it. But I was also the first one to sign on for Reunion.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Hers initially was writing it and asked me about 3 years before we shot it. That's why it's the 13-year anniversary instead of the 10-year, like we missed it by a few. We were trying for like 3 years to put it together. And I just said, yeah, listen, I'm in. Good luck coordinating everyone's schedules because obviously everyone's so busy.
Sure.
You know, we all reaped the rewards of that being a successful franchise.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, last question. Speaking of the future and everything, what have you got coming down the pipe? Any interesting projects you can tease us on?
I think there's something with sharks.
There is something with sharks. I got some other ones as well. We'll start with the sharks since, it's kind of a theme.
Yeah,
more or less.
Cinemajaw.
More or less. So I followed in Tara Reid's footsteps, and I have done a shark movie that will be premiering on Sci-Fi August 2nd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Awesome.
No tornadoes, only one shark in a trailer park. And Tara Reid actually makes an appearance in the film.
Ooh.
That is great.
So
I think she has to.
Well, I mean, it is airing during Sharknado Week. So, Discovery Channel has Shark Week. Sci-Fi has Sharknado Week. So they're premiering Sharknado 5 as well as Trailer Park Shark.
That is awesome.
Now, we like to end all of our guest interviews with silly cinema cues, we call them. Get to know the guest through the eye of the lens. Elias, do you got something?
Yes, so Trailer Park Shark, if you could star in either one of these two movies, Jaws, go back in time, star in Jaws, or 8 Mile, which one would you choose?
Jaws, for sure.
All right.
That's really not a hard question.
Getting out of the trailer park. Got it. And one more. If you could star, again, go back in time and star in any other baseball film, which one would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I'm kind of torn between my serious side, like The Natural, and also like, would I be my age? Because I'm not... my name's Tom.
Carte blanche, anything you
Carte
want.
blanche, anything I want. Like, I would love to be Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own.
Yeah. Amen.
Very good, man.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Well,
Another film that shot at Wrigley, a couple scenes.
True.
Yeah, and to tease on other things, because obviously Trailer Park Shark you can see in a few weeks. I have another film project called Handbook for Mortals, which is my revisit back to the fantasy world.
Oh,
Last
sweet.
time I did a fantasy film was A Kid in King Arthur's Court with Kate Winslet, who was Rose on Titanic, and then obviously Daniel Craig, who's just now signed on to do James Bond again officially today.
He's such a whiner, that guy, isn't he?
Yeah, quality problems.
Yeah.
Quality problems. Do I take the job for $150 million or don't I? What did I have for? What am I having for breakfast?
Yeah.
Handbook for Mortals. We're actually also releasing a book based upon the film this summer, and so I'm coming back to be a part of Wizard World, and we're offering people at Wizard World an exclusive chance to pre-order the limited edition book based upon the film.
Oh, nice.
So we're introducing the story through like teasing it with a book.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And we might see you there. We're going to try to make it out to Wizard World.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
we'll be sure
we'll
to
have
say
to
hi.
have another chat on Cinemajaws.
No doubt, because you even starred in Chicago 8, which is a movie that we got to dive into that. Well, there's a lot more to talk to Thomas about.
It's all my Chicago ties, Besides my wife being from Chicago, I also played Walt Disney and Walt Before Mickey, who was subsequently born in Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it does. It all comes full circle.
It came full circle, man.
It's full circle, man. And if you're around in a few weeks as well, I'll be back with my band. So like tonight after the screening, I'm throwing an after party at HVAC, and then when I come back August 15th and 16th, my band will be playing 2 nights at HVAC.
We're gonna have to make a date here.
Yeah, multi-talented, Tom. Thank you for joining us on Cinemajaw.
Man, thanks for having me.
Cinemajaw.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Thank you. Fist bump.
Great guy, right?
Yeah, he was. Very, very nice dude.
Yeah, and thanks again, as we mentioned, Ryan from the Music Box for hooking us up. It was awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right, it brings us to trivia. Everybody's favorite segment here. In honor of Dunkirk, we are playing World War II movie trivia. It works like this. Matthew, you're our guest.
Mm-hmm.
I should say Matthew Stromer, you're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first or let Matt go first. There are steals, and if you get hung up on either or any of the questions, you do get one lifeline, one trip to the ER for Elias Rodriguez.
Okay.
Do you want to go first? They start off easy.
Sure, let's do it.
Question 1 over to you. World War II movie trivia. The only Tom Cruise World War II film sees him try to kill Hitler. Name it.
Valkyrie.
1-0, Matthew Stromer. Question 2
It's an
over to
easy
Matt
one.
Kay.
Yeah.
The same year Saving Private Ryan came out, Terrence Malick directed this World War II film that starred Sean Penn, Nick Nolte, and John Cusack, to name a few.
This is supposed to be easy at the beginning.
This is very easy.
It is?
I believe so.
Steel.
So, same year as Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah. Terrence Malick directed this World War
Hadn't
II
made a film in
film.
like years, and then that came out.
It was a must-see. It was a World War II film. It starred Sean Penn, Nick Nolte, John Cusack, and that's to name a few. Most of Hollywood was in this movie, weren't they?
Yeah.
Some people were cut out. They
John
shot.
Travolta was in it. George Clooney.
Oh, John Travolta was in it? Was this Saturday Night Fever 2?
I knew Matt was going to get
The
this one
Electric
wrong.
Boogaloo?
You got a chance for a steal here, Matthew.
I'll give you a hint. Think of a Warner Herzog documentary about a police officer shooting.
That doesn't help him.
Okay. The Thin Red Line.
And you were going the Thin Blue Line, right?
Correct.
Trying to give him hints. These are all flying over his head. It is 2-0,
Like
Matthew
Spider-Man.
Stromer, right? 2-0, Matt Stromer, and question 3 is to him. He can blow it wide open here. In 1957, this actor, who would later play a Jedi, starred in David Lean's epic A Bridge Over the River Kwai. Name him.
Sir Alec Guinness.
He even gets the sir in there. I mean, this guy's on the top of his game. 3-0, Stromer. Question 4 over to Matt K. Hey, Ben Affleck. Matt is so excited when I mentioned Ben Affleck. He has starred in one World War II film. It was directed by your buddy, Michael Bay. Name it.
Pearl Harbor.
Matt, I put that question in for you.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. It's 3-1, Stromer over Matt K. Question 5 over to Mr. Stromer. Which actor portrayed General Patton in the 1970 film titled Patton?
George C. Scott.
He is rolling. He is rolling.
Nice.
It is 4-1. Question 6. Matt, you need all these. Question 6 is over to you. Name the World War II film that starred Adrian Brody, came out in 2002, and was directed by Mr. Roman Polanski.
Predators. I tried to do it with a straight face.
Wow. Chance for a steal here, Mr. Stromer.
The Pianist.
The what?
The Pianist.
Oh.
This is just ugly at this point.
I didn't even really try.
5-1. 5-1, Stromer. Question 7 is over to him. The 1968 film Where Eagles Dare starred Richard
It's a
Burton.
great Misfits song.
Richard Burton and this legendary actor who starred as Lieutenant Morris Schaefer. Name him. And you do have a lifeline.
I'll use my lifeline.
Whoa, trip to the ER on question number 7. Elias Rodriguez, who starred in Where Eagles Dare?
It's Glenn Danzig.
Don't worry. I'm going to make your day with this clue.
Clint Eastwood.
Wow, why don't you just tell him the freaking answer? Jeez, you even had to do the voice.
Unreal. 6-1, Stromer. Matt, save some face here. Last question of the game is over to you. Name the 2008 film that starred Daniel Craig, Liev Schreiber as Jewish brothers who escape into the woods where they join a Russian resistance.
Okay, I might as well use my ER here.
Oh, back-to-back trips to the ER. Question number 8. Elias Rodriguez, what was the name of that Daniel Craig, Liev Schreiber movie?
Your clue is, and this is not as direct as the last clue, open resistance, bold disobedience. It's technically 2. So.
Sounds like a definition for one-word title.
Open resistance, bold disobedience.
Anything?
No, if anything, that clue threw me off more.
Maybe you could do it in a voice, Elias.
Can you give me a voice?
I'll do the Bane voice.
That would have made it so much better. I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you know this one, Matt? Stromer,
No,
that
I
is.
don't.
We were looking for Defiance.
See, I should have known that. Defiance.
Yeah. Wow, Stromer wins this one. He slaughters you, Matt K.
Yeah.
Out on the
But
battlefield.
I was wrong when I was trying to give you that hint to the Thin Red Line. I was trying to sound cool, and I spat out Warner Herzog. It was actually Errol Morris who directed the Thin Red Line. So,
Nobody would have known that.
well,
No, the Jawheads would know it.
They probably would. They probably were listening
Someone
to
would
this.
know.
Yeah, I knew you were going with that hint because I remember thinking, when I saw the title, I was like, what? Is this a follow-up of something, so
Right,
similar
right.
of a title? Wow, Matt Stromer wins this one.
And he can't stop making movies now. Like
No.
he took this long
Terrence
hiatus,
Malick, yeah.
and then made Thin Red Line, and he hasn't stopped making. He puts out a movie almost every year now. it
All the
seems.
power to him. 6-1. Can we get a handshake? here?
Handshake. Well done,
Good job.
sir.
Good job.
If it came down to a jawbreaker, this question would have been over to Mr. Stromer. Who makes a better soldier, Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan or Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards?
Tom Hanks.
We'd give that one to him. Yeah, there's just no denying Mr. Hanks on
No.
the battlefield. The real jawbreaker was this: Age of Clint Eastwood. Closest to Matt Kay.
150. So he's got to be in his 90s by now. I would say he's about 93.
Lock him in at 93. Elias Stromer, you got to guess?
81.
Give that one to Matt Kay. No. Wait, what was your guess?
93.
No, you said 100 and
150.
No, you said 93 and you said
81.
he's 87. Give that one to Stromer.
But that's split almost right in the middle.
It's a tie, really. Or maybe you win. 87. But look at how bad my math is on the spot. It's really right on there. 87. You got
81, and
80.
he's a workaholic.
We'll call it a tie.
87, 88, 89, 90, 1, 2, 3. That's 6 years forward.
It is a tie then.
Is it tie? We
Yeah.
split the difference?
Yeah. So the other jawbreaker is this.
Ooh.
Yeah, I always come with 2 in case this happens. Height of Clint Eastwood. How tall is he? Closest to.
I would say he is 6'3",
Lock him
or at
in
least was at his peak.
lock him in at 6'3".
I'm going to say 6'3", too. Can I do that?
That brings us to a third jawbreaker then.
Well, let's find out who's right.
Wow.
How well endowed is... No, do you have a guess on his height? You were going to say what?
I really was thinking.
You can't do
All
the
right,
same.
then
So you got to go one
gotta
up
go,
or
yeah.
one over.
All right, I'm going to be upset if it's 6'3". 6'4".
Give that one to Matthew Stromer.
Oh,
6'4".
It's like The Price is Right. $1.
Yep. That's how you win.
And also of the how many trivia questions did we just do? War
8.
8.
8.
Yeah.
Guess how many movies out of those 8 Kenneth Branagh was in?
1.
That's right.
Yes.
Playing a Nazi.
There he
My
goes.
point.
There he goes. This guy. And that other guy, too, is always in the Nazi movies. The new guy. Oh, he was in Captain America Civil War. He was the villain.
Throw it in the late jaw box.
And Zookeeper's wife.
It's 2 different people.
No, it's not.
Daniel Brohl?
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, okay. I know who you meant now. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was an aside.
Jeez, Matt. Get my brain to work here.
Well,
Right at
man,
the
you
end
can't
of a
even-
jaw,
You can't even
too.
do math anymore.
This was an epic jaw. We were out at Wrigley 3 hours ago.
I know. Crazy.
This is fun times, though. First and foremost, we got to thank our guest, Matthew Stromer. Thanks for coming on Cinemajaw.
Thank you for having me. It's great.
We also got to thank Ryan from the Music Box. And thanks again to Thomas Ian Nichols. That was a blast.
That really was. Thank you.
Look forward to having him again on the jaw.
That'd be fun. He said he'd be at Wizard World. Maybe we'll join him.
Yes. We also got to thank the best engineer in the biz, Elias Rodriguez.
Thanks, fellas. I just made my own website. I've had it for a while, eliasrodriguez.com, E-L-I-A-Z. And if you go on the films page, you will see the collaboration between me and Matthew Stromer, A Lone Man. So check that out. And also there's a whole podcast section because gotta give love to the fellas here.
Oh,
And
man.
thank you very much.
I didn't even know
Boom.
this existed.
I literally just built it.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
Also, thanks to editor Phil. Give him a plug since he made the trip all the way over to Wrigley today.
Yeah, absolutely. My website's actually not new. Mine's like a year old. Mine is philfujiwara.com.
Ooh. It's very creative, guys.
It's a nightmare to spell. It's PFILFUJIWARA. I'm sorry for being Japanese. And then it also has a podcast page with Cinemajaw on it.
Oh, wow.
And other than that, check out my webcomic, which is also on my website.
Awesome.
Wait, would you watch a webcomic, Rye?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
Or read, there's, written, right? Yeah.
My website is mattkabinski.com. It really is. It really is.
I should have done MatthewStromer.com.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
I bought all my kids' names, like
Domain names?
.com. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. You gotta
Right.
do
Do
this.
you have any sort of your Twitter.
Yeah, why don't you follow me on Twitter? I'm at Rye the Movie Guy. I say real witty things all the time, so
Not
follow
really.
me there, or Instagram, or all that good stuff. Rye the Movie Guy. I own Rye the Movie Guy.
Your showers.
Oh, you do?
No, I mean not physical. You know what I mean. I'm every. If you just type in Rye the Movie
Got
Guy,
it.
I'm there.
Except for the .com, dude. You got to get on that.
Shouldn't I? Yeah, maybe I will.
Your
Yes.
shower selfies on Instagram are great.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for those. Yes. We also got to thank all our sponsors.
Yes, thanks to all the sponsors and the Chicago Podcast Co-op who help us get those sponsors.
We also want to thank our Patreons, our lifebloods.
Yes.
If they support the show, you can support us on Patreon. Also, if you want to support us, write us a review on iTunes.
Yeah, please do. All those reviews help us attract new listeners.
Yeah. Till next week, I'm Rye the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt K,
And
and keep on jawing about the movies.